Pete?
Yes, I love Mayor Pete.
I'm really excited about the news about the Electoral College.
The Electoral College.
You know-
Yesterday's news were
Yes, but today we learned that Mitch McConnell is not a traitor.
You know, a funny thing about that, when the news was coming in, MSNBC was broadcasting McConnell live. I turned immediately to Fox, and it was 20 minutes before Fox reported it. MSNBC went live on the speaker, on the president of the Senate. Fox didn't even cover it. It's amazing.
Now you could turn away from both of those stations and turn to the news.
Which news is it?
5,
This one.
4, 3, 2.
Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ daily evening news. It is time to queer up the news. We report historic breaking news as Queer News Tonight comes on the air this evening, as President-elect Joe Biden will nominate Pete Buttigieg to be his transportation secretary, elevating the former South Bend, Indiana mayor and 2020 Democratic presidential candidate to a top post in the federal government. Buttigieg would be the first Senate-confirmed LGBTQ cabinet secretary in history. The choice, which represents the first time the president-elect has called on one of his former Democratic presidential opponents to join his administration as a cabinet secretary. The role of transportation secretary is expected to play a central role in Biden's push for a bipartisan infrastructure package. Everyone at Happening Out Television Network takes a moment to recognize this historic moment as the entire LGBTQ community celebrates this achievement.
I'm excited about this. I'm glad that another gay person is going to be representing us. I'm really excited, though, because this is a good move politically for the Democratic Party. When you bring on more people that have a support system of their own, it's good for the party, period.
And I think it's also great for the next generation to step into leadership roles. It's time.
One of the things that I'm really excited, there was so much speculation of not so much that he was going to get a cabinet appointment, but which one. It was suggested Secretary of State and many, many other things. I'm really excited about Transportation Secretary because he'll be in a situation where he has to work with both the Republicans and Democrats to be able to focus on bipartisanship. And all of the Republicans are going to be dealing with the gay guy in chief in the cabinet. I think it's awesome. Well, good evening, LGBTQ world. It's 7 p.m. Tuesday, December 15th, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight. The world's first live daily queer evening news show, Out of the Closet and Into the Headlines on Q News Tonight. Well, thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is a live, unedited LGBTQ evening news show. Whatever happens, you're going to see it. This evening, we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ community from South Florida, America, and across our world. I'm your Queer News Tonight anchor, Al Ferguson, and tonight, let's welcome anchor Gordon Woodworth III. They are genderqueer, non-binary, Gen Zer host on Gay Town Hall Alive every Thursday night at 8 p.m. And they are currently a data entry and triage specialist at the nonprofit organization Broward House, as well as now a notary in helping the LGBTQ community legally get married for free. Good evening, Gordon.
Thanks, Al. Glad to be here.
Next, let's welcome anchor Kal Gajraj. He is a business strategist and international consultant in marketing and public relations. Good evening, Kal.
Nice to be here.
Well, tonight we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, December 15th. Let's begin by queering up, celebrating 2021. We are going to focus on being able to celebrate 2020 in memes. So watch this. Well, let's be real. The LGBTQ community really can't wait for 2020 to be over. In less than a year, we've dealt with a lot. So thankfully, we also somehow still have our senses of humor. All week long at Queer News Tonight, we are going to celebrate the closure of this year in memes. Use these 2020 memes for a bit of humor to get you through the balance of the year.
You gotta laugh to get through this stuff. You really do.
I think 2020 is just a meme on its own.
I love the pie meme. If 2020 was a pie, this is the pie. And Oprah aging month by month right before our very eyes. It's really brilliant. Love it.
Next, we're gonna queer up entertainment with movies that queered Christmas. From Clea Duvall's Happiest Season to Hallmark's The Christmas House, this year has seen an explosion of gay Christmas films, a major change to a genre that has historically excluded LGBTQ+ people. But that rule has not been true across the board. From its pageantry to its camp to its carols, Christmas has always been queer. And films, implicitly and explicitly, have nodded at that for decades. Let's take a sleigh ride to the films that made the Yuletide gay.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, 1964. The classic animated Christmas special features several stories of mocked outsiders who find strength in their differences. And we all live on the same island of misfit toys.
I do. Female Trouble, 1974. Nothing says the holidays quite like Divine's Dawn Davenport stomping on a Christmas tree and all of the gifts beneath it because her parents failed to gift her the only thing she really wanted, cha-cha heels.
Mixed Nuts, 1994. The film is notable for being the first movie appearance of Liev Schreiber, who portrays a transgender woman named Chris.
Serendipity, 2001. Kate Beckinsale is Sarah and John Cusack is Jonathan, who meet and begin a sweet courtship at Christmas before parting ways, only to be reunited a few years later. Molly Shannon plays Sarah's lesbian best friend.
Too Cool for Christmas, 2004. A unique film that had two alternate versions. Last year, they released a version where they exchanged gay and straight parents in the storyline.
The Family Stone, 2005. Everyone loves Thad and Patrick, a gay couple trying to adopt their first child. In a family of straight messes, it was refreshing, in 2005, to see the gays keeping it together for the holidays.
Holidays in Handcuffs, 2007. The queen of Christmas movies. Family dysfunction, homophobia, and coming out stories. What more could we want for the holidays?
And finally, Make the Yuletide Gay, 2009. Happiest Season stands on the shoulders of Make the Yuletide Gay, a 2009 romantic comedy who the character is out at college, goes back into the closet for the holidays to appease his parents. Then his roommate shows up and the Yuletide inevitably is made gay. Whatever your pleasure, there are dozens of LGBT-themed Christmas film stories. This year, both Lifetime and Hallmark have moved us from supporting characters to front and center. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from Queer News Tonight.
And now it's time to queer up gay culture. RuPaul and other drag pioneers come to life in the stunning new photo book. At Queer News Tonight, we support LGBTQ culture in art, calendars, books, and more. Tonight, we introduce you to an amazing new photo book focusing on drag. Before RuPaul became a household name, she was a fixture of New York City's downtown drag scene during the 1980s and 90s, appearing at Wigstock and East Village clubs like Pyramid. Linda Simpson, the alter ego of writer and former Time Out New York editor Les Simpson, was there, documenting it through thousands of photos snapped with a 35mm point-and-shoot camera. Now, more than 230 of those priceless vintage images have been collected in Simpson's must-have new book, The Drag Explosion, featuring candid shots of icons like Jackie Beat, Lipsinka, Kevin Aviance, edgy fashion trailblazer Lee Bowery, and the late Mona Foote, who died of COVID-19 in March. It includes an introduction by Lady Bunny and an afterword by Yale professor Tavia Nyong'o, author of 2018's Afro-Fabulations, The Queer Drama of Black Life. The drag explosion also captures this pivotal scenes crossover with ballroom and voguing culture, pop art, and 90s club kids. This fabulous photo book, The Drag Explosion, is being released during the holidays, and it is an ideal gift for the season. Pre-orders are available now via domain.
Of course, everybody in America knows what a supporter of the American drag culture I am, especially at RuPaul's Drag Race. This is a great holiday gift because it celebrates arguably the most important entertainment forum in America for the LGBTQ community, but it also documents our history. So you're getting a 1-2 punch in the value of this photo coffee table book. Highly recommend you look at it.
Yeah, I want to echo that because that's exactly what I was going to say. Especially if you're an older gay person and you know a younger gay person, please buy them this book so that people can learn that drag is a whole lot more than RuPaul's Drag Race. And not only that, it's supposed to be subversive and offensive. It's a protest. It's about pushing for our rights.
I think these photos are great. It's a great history lesson. It's a great archive of photos from the past, and it's just great to look at.
Well, next, let's queer up politics. What happens next for most extreme gays for Trump? Milo Yiannopoulos rants into insanity. Gay MAGA gadfly Milo was a familiar face to both the queer community and Trump supporters early in the administration. The loudmouth and flamboyant Brit courted controversy and flamed out in dramatic manner, quickly becoming Milo what's-his-name. After the Supreme Court refused to hear Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's case attempting to overturn the results of the presidential election, Milo has decided to bite the hand that fed him. He's the 2020 version of David Brock, but with more mental breakdown and less redemption. Queer News Tonight hosted the national LGBTQ debate and was viewed by more than 250,000 people. #walkaway, gays for Trump, and the like from the LGBTQ community were all participants in the debate anchored by me. It was moderated by me. Over on Parler, the far-right version of Twitter, popular with white supremacists and Trump supporters, Milo was on a screaming outrage over the Supreme Court decision after it was announced. Milo tweeted, quote, "Burn the Republican Party to the fucking ground." He also tweeted, quote, "Trump's SCOTUS appointments were pointless. We defended a selfish clown for nothing. I lost everything helping..." I'm having difficulty getting through this. "I lost everything helping to put Trump in office. My life and career were completely destroyed. Was it worth it? No. I feel utterly betrayed." End tweet quote. We plan to follow up with #walkaway Brandon Strzok after the first of the year. He's appeared at Queer News Tonight several times. Gay is for Trump, #walkaway, Richard Grinnell, and other conservative LGBTQ conservatives have had a really tough month. Perhaps Milo said it best for all of them when he tweeted, quote, "I will have vengeance."
Now pause for me to play the tiniest violin in the world for that one, because you reap what you sow. And honestly, I love that in the main story we've described what Milo is doing as biting the hand that feeds him, because that's what the Gays for Trump movement is. That's what #walkaway is. You're biting the hand that feeds you. Realize who your allies are and who they aren't.
I mean, are they really surprised? Did they really think that Trump was an ally of the LGBTQ community?
Milo has literally destroyed himself. He was the senior editor-director at Breitbart. At Breitbart. Very significant job. Whether you liked Breitbart or him or not, very important job in international media, and has self-destructed over the last 4 years, all in kowtowing to someone that was all of their god and now has proved you can follow Mussolini, you can follow many despots all over the world, but eventually you crash and burn. And his tweets are a reflection of his crashing and his burning.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Next, we're going to queer up South Florida. Palm Beach County, Boca Raton, challenges appeals court ruling overturning conversion therapy bans. Boca Raton and Palm Beach County filed a petition with the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals this week asking the court to review a November ruling where a 3-judge panel found their bans on conversion therapy for minors unconstitutional. It was uncertain if the county and city were going to challenge the ruling. The petition is calling for an en banc review, which means all 12 judges would hear the case. The petition also states that the majority opinion overturning the bans conflicts with circuit precedent and its interpretation of strict scrutiny departs from the U.S. Supreme Court, according to Ran Hoke, the president of the Palm Beach County Human Rights Council. The judges in the majority should never have ruled on the merits in this case until a trial was held. The controversial practice known as conversion therapy has been discredited by most professional medical associations, and 20 states and more than 80 counties and municipalities in the U.S. have enacted laws prohibiting the practice on minors. This week's move likely will set moves for continued court overviews, perhaps all the way to the Supreme Court.
And now it's time to queer up the USA. The hashtag that grew the most on Twitter this year is trans rights are human rights. J.K. Rowling recently said that she believes people agree with her transphobic opinions, but they're just afraid to speak up on them. This week, she tweeted, "Many are afraid to speak up because they fear for their jobs and even for their personal safety. This climate of fear serves nobody well, at least for all trans people." Well, it turns out that people are definitely speaking up more about trans issues this year than before. They're just not saying what Rowling likes. The hashtag trans rights are human rights was one of the top growing hashtags in the LGBTQ community on Twitter in the year of 2020, exploding in usage by a whopping 557%. Twitter reported similarly the usage of the hashtags trans lives matter became more popular than last year by 113%. Hashtag all Black Lives Matter, typically used to emphasize and include Black LGBTQ lives that are sometimes excluded in mainstream media or by anti-LGBTQ supporters, grew by 112%. Hashtag Black Trans Lives Matter, highlighting struggles and violence facing Black trans people, grew by 108% in a year where a community began relying on online spaces more than ever. The hashtag LGBTQ grew by 49%. The usage of the rainbow emoji went up by 20%. The social network announced these results in its annual year on Twitter.
Well, next, let's queer up the world. And we report that the HRC launches Small Grants Initiative for a global LGBT groups and organizations. The Human Rights Campaign this week unveiled a new initiative that will provide LGBTQ rights groups in 17 countries with small grants to further bolster their advocacy efforts. A press release notes that the Global Small Grants Program recipients will receive up to $5,000 to fund programs that will either foster virtual programming in COVID-19 environment or boost initiatives on building allies among communities of faith or in business. This news was particularly important with the tough news of 2020 for the HRC. In April, HRC laid off 22 employees because of their coronavirus pandemic. HRC President Alfonso David and other members of HRC's executive and senior leadership teams cut their own salaries. Everyone at Queer News Tonight encourages you to remember the HRC and all of our LGBTQ 501c3 charity and advocacy organizations in a year that has harmed them unlike any other in history.
Honestly, if you have extra money to donate, please do. Please donate to organizations like HRC, especially one like this that has already done a lot for our community, especially here in Florida. And now they're looking to branch out and advocate for gay people across the world. So we need to make sure that these organizations survive this pandemic.
Absolutely, and especially for these 501c3 organizations, all nonprofit organizations have been hurting this year. And this is actually the time of year, December, to make your end of year tax deductible contributions. So tax season is coming up, so pick your favorite nonprofit charities and write a check.
None of us pass judgment on what you are capable of doing or not capable of doing, especially in 2020 because of COVID-19, employment status, economic effect, etc. However, the one thing that I would say is if you are able to, I hope you'll look at your LGBTQ organizations, especially your local LGBTQ 501c organizations. The need is dire. If you don't have the ability to do that, absolutely no problem. Volunteer or support. Your hands are as valuable as your dollars. Well, that is our queer headlines for today. So let's catch up on the LGBTQ news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies. Tonight, we are only going to report the devastating effects coronavirus had on the American and worldwide LGBTQ community in total cases and deaths. Today, we hit record highs as nearly 1.2 million LGBTQ Americans have now contracted coronavirus. And in just 10 months, nearly 22,000 LGBTQ Americans have died of COVID-19, including our friend and Queer News Tonight anchor, Ron Branesky. We remember.
We remember.
We remember.
Well, next up at Queer News Tonight, we are passionate about supporting our local LGBTQ business here in South Florida and across America. And tonight we are pleased to feature our very own Chef Josie's Bubbles and Pearls. At Bubbles and Pearls, it's a champagne raw bar, and there is always amazing celebration. This amazing whimsical concept of a restaurant features champagne and oysters, fresh and bold flavors, as well as vegan options. Known for their delicious menu of bubbles and signature cocktails, Bubbles and Pearls is located in the heart of Wilk Manors, Fort Lauderdale, the gayest place on planet Earth, and makes the commitment to the freshest ingredients in a small kitchen created by our very own longtime It's Happening Out host, Josie Smith Malave, or better known as Chef Josie. She is not only a Bravo TV top chef and owner of Bubbles and Pearls Champagne Raw Bar, she is also the founder of Global Soul Project, an organization focused on using food to build community and deliver healthy food solutions to underserved neighborhoods, as well as a transformational trainer and speaker, drink concierge, we hear karaoke lover, and a jet-setting traveler. Please welcome one of Queer News Tonight's anchors here on the show, but as a guest tonight,
Hey.
Chef Josie. Good evening, Josie.
Hey, Al. How you guys doing this
Welcome.
evening?
We're doing this segment on supporting LGBTQ local businesses, and we thought Bubbles and Pearls was a perfect implementation of that. You're a famous name from Top Chef, but you have a local restaurant. You're not a chain, and you're not a chef that works for a chain. So I would imagine in COVID-19, you need some support of the local community and the LGBT local community.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Today, we just heard Governor DeSantis come out and bring and parade a group of people who were, giving him thanks for keeping us open here in Florida. And even though I say thank you as well, because, I'm a small business and we need all the help we can get. The reality of it is that by keeping us open and passing the buck to us to stay open and stay desperate for the next check, our employees, the employers, our small business owners, having to support our staffs, it's taking the pressure off of our local politicians to really advocate for that stimulus package that our families need. So having said that, I'm still very grateful that we are continuing to adapt. That's the entrepreneurial spirit. We're adapting, we're overcoming, and we will be here when this is all said and done.
It's funny that you say that because I've heard so many people comment the argument that's going on right now in the House and the Senate about the stimulus package. And it looks like there's some progress being made before the Christmas recess. But there's a lot of criticism that I hear about, well, why should we spend stimulus money in this way? Well, especially for local businesses, 70% of all of the jobs in America are created in local businesses. Amazon doesn't create the lion's share. Walmart does not create the lion's share of jobs in America. They're just gigantic job creators, but not the lion's share of jobs. It's in small local business, in regional business. I just read that over 1,000 restaurants in New York City have closed in COVID permanently. They will not reopen.
Yeah, it's a very sad very sad moment for my industry. This is an industry that I have grown up in. I have identified myself with for over 25 years. Watching my friends just disappear, and restaurants that were staples in New York City in the downtown area. I mean, it's so sad right now. And there's a hashtag going out there, and people, you're talking about nonprofits earlier. There's an organization right now helping to raise funds and advocate for the restaurant industry, and that's hashtag Save Restaurants. This is the reality of what we're doing right now. Al, it's just a very challenging time for all of our businesses. And the sooner that politicians understand that number that you just mentioned, 70%, 70%, that means that the heartbeat of our country is built on the backs of entrepreneurship. It's built on the backs of people's hopes and dreams.
It is what America is all about. Absolutely what it's all about. Let's focus real quick on Bubbles and Pearls. If you're in South Florida, and I would be surprised if you haven't tried it, you should. If you come to South Florida, you definitely are going to come to Wilton Drive. LGBT America, we know you're coming to Wilton Drive. There's just no question. If you come down to South Florida, you're coming to Wilton Drive, and you're right in the heart of Wilton Drive. How long has Bubbles and Pearls been in existence?
We've been here in Wilton Manors for about 4.5 years. We're going to be celebrating close to 5 now.
Yeah, and virtually every single time somebody recognizes you or talks about Bubbles and Pearls, they talk about Bravo TV's Top Chef. Do you ever get tired of hearing Top Chef? Top Chef? Do you ever get tired of that?
I mean, I wouldn't mind a few more endorsements and, some equipment sponsors. So if you're listening out there, I sure could use some, especially now during COVID. But yeah, it's like a fun fact about me that I happen to be a Top Chef. I was on 4 seasons of Top Chef. On Food Network, all kinds of fun things. That's fun. It's fun. It's fun to know. But I think when people come into the restaurant and they meet me in person, it's a little bit different than on television. The pressure isn't there. There's no time clock, and I get to be myself and a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
So,
I also want to ask you, unique for you at Bubbles and Pearls, you just ran for mayor. It was an unsuccessful campaign, but successful in the experience. You ran for mayor of Wilton Manors. The gayest city in America. We just got 100% HRC community recognition. What was that experience like for you, running for mayor? What did you learn in 2020 of COVID?
Well, first I learned recognize who you're running against. When you're the newbie kid on the block and you're going to run against incumbents, understand that, people know the game, okay? Look, what I learned was that our community is diverse, right? Our community is diverse. The issues are the issues, and beyond politics, it's always about the people in a small town community. Our needs are they're very distinct from other cities, I believe. And I learned that our little city is just so unique and so special. I knew that. That's why I wanted to run in the first place. But, listen, I learned a lot about what I would do next time, right? So I got my little political chops, and now I know. And, I also found out that politics can be a little dirty.
Yeah. We all have to learn. Well, South Florida, I encourage you, of course, if you live in Central Broward, Wilton, come back down to Wilton, especially now at holiday time. The lights are going up. It's quite beautiful. It's a great, especially the fresh oysters. They're just absolutely awesome. The lamb. I'm a cauliflower. I'm a vegetable eater, and the cauliflower steak is amazing. I love the restaurant. Big supports and shout outs to our local businesses. That's what this segment is about. Queer News Tonight is trying to say shop local, eat local, support local. They need it more than ever before, just like our 501c3 charities. Josie, my last question for you.
Okay.
You have done It's Happening Out, the most popular live gay talk show in the world since the dinosaurs were walking the earth. All of our hosts, Power and Aaron Phoenix and Faye and everybody else that's associated with the talk show, Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, don't miss it. Of all of the hosts that you've been associated with at It's Happening Out, who's your favorite? Go.
You see, Al, you always put me in these positions. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm going to just say...
Here comes the politician. This is what she's learned.
I'm going to say I'm the favorite. I'm my favorite host, okay? There you go.
All right. Thank you, Power Infinity, for
Yes.
being with us. No, of course, I'm only playing with you. So we invite you again. Shop local, eat local, support local. It's very, very important through the holidays and moving into 2021. And come out to Chef Josie's place, Bubbles and Pearls. Outstanding restaurant right on Wilton Drive. Chef Josie, thanks for being with us.
Bye, guys.
All right. Next, we are going to report that Happening Out television network helps support lots of LGBT community organizations. An example of that is Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here in supporting that partnership. The network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the world, with more than 30,000 watching every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's totally live. We encourage you to tune in. Our campaign of sponsorship proudly supports Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church. Watch this.
Hello, I'm Victor Jimenez, Executive Director of the Outshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
We'd also like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living, here in Fort Lauderdale for making this set in this amazing queer church campus possible.
Finally, we thank Queer News Tonight's hotel sponsor, Best Western I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our hosts and guests stay at this LGBTQ ally partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida.
Well, next up, Gordon, you're going to tell us about our special segment.
Welcome to week 30 of Q's Q&A on LGBTQ health and pandemic. This segment is unique in America, answering your LGBTQ community questions about our unique health needs. We are proud to have Queer News Tonight health anchor Dr. Howard Grossman.
He is an American pioneer in HIV/AIDS medical treatment and was the executive director of the American Academy of HIV Medicine.
He is a nationally recognized medical expert and proud member of our LGBTQ community. Good evening, Dr. Grossman.
Hey, Al, how you doing?
I am great. Well, before we move into the specific questions this week, tell us any of the thoughts that you've had in watching all of the medical news, health news in the country, especially related to COVID. What did you think about what we've heard this week?
Well, after you interview Chef Josie, it's hard to think of anything except the food in her restaurant, which is
That's right.
my favorite restaurant in Fort Lauderdale. So I'm out now. I'll bye. I'm going to go eat. Yesterday was quite an incredible day. I mean, between being the first day that people in the U.S. received vaccines and the day that, the Electoral College finally met, it was a pretty amazing day, I think, for all of us. The vaccines are here, and I think it's exciting. And, we've talked in the past about the caveats, about the things that, we want to watch for, the things that we may not know yet. But I think there are some things that have come out now that the data is public, and anybody can access the data on the FDA website. that data is really impressive. I mean, when you see the curves of the difference in serious illness between people who got vaccinated and people who got placebo, it's dramatic, incredibly dramatic. And the amount of the safety data is also impressive. Yes, it's only 7 or 8 months, but it's impressive data. And I think people need to get the vaccine. Now, I think it's important for people to understand about the vaccine, and that is that the vaccine prevents serious illness. It does not, to our knowledge at this point, necessarily prevent infection. So while you won't get seriously ill and end up on a respirator, you may harbor the virus in your nose and mouth and upper respiratory tract and be able to pass it to other people. And so we're still going to have to wear masks until the vast majority of people in this country have been vaccinated, and probably around the world as well. So we will still need to use the masks and be careful about spreading virus, but we can stop worrying about people dying, and that's really amazing.
Howard, I wanted to ask point blank in terms of your support of the vaccine. Vaccine available, when a vaccine is available to you, will you be getting the vaccine? You've had COVID.
Yes, I'm going to. The feeling is that people like me who had basically asymptomatic cases may not have developed as strong an immune response as people who got sick. And so I think the current recommendation is that people like me get vaccinated. Yeah. I'll see, if they tell me I have to wait until people who are more at risk get vaccinated, okay. But yes, I will get the vaccine.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, let's jump right into the questions that we have tonight. We're going to start with Gordon.
Question 1. The vaccine is here. What happens next, and what is the timeline?
Well, right now, I think the vaccine is being administered to healthcare workers, frontline healthcare workers first, and next will be nursing home patients and essential workers. So, remember, we have 100 million doses of vaccine, which is enough for 50 million people, and there are more than 50 million people in those groups. So we won't have enough, thanks to the Trump administration not pre-ordering when they were allowed to order more. And the vaccine is committed to other countries. Hopefully, when the Moderna vaccine, which should be approved this weekend, the Vaccine Advisory Committee meeting is Thursday. When that comes out, that will add to the supply. So for most people, what I'm hearing is that people won't be able to get the vaccine until midsummer. And I think people need to be aware of that. Stop thinking you're going to throw away your mask immediately. And anyway, as I just said, we're going to have to wear the mask after vaccination anyway.
Mm-hmm. Howard, I just want to add.
I'm sorry, Al. If people are interested, the New York Times actually had a calculator that was that you can get off their website. You can also find it on our Midway Specialty Care Wilton Manors Facebook page, because I posted it. That gives you an approximate idea of your place in line in the country. How many people are in front of you?
Oh, excellent. That's really interesting. I read today, Howard, in terms of this timeline issue that you've just answered, lots of conspiracy stuff that was said about what was going on in the European Union, that Germany, France, etc., the Union wasn't doing evaluation of Pfizer until December 29th, and growing pressure and criticism of their FDA-related organization, and that they've moved it up now a week. But many people saying online, oh, it's because they're scared that they know something about some kind of risk with the vaccine. What do you think about that in terms of the Europeans dragging?
The EMEA, which is the European equivalent of the FDA, tends to be very deliberate in what they decide. They often take far longer to approve new drugs than the US FDA does. And they are concerned scientists, but they tend to move at a slower rate. So I'm not surprised that they're a little bit behind on this.
But for you, it doesn't mean anything, any issue as it relates to the safety.
It's a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's a couple of weeks. And that's the way it happens all the time.
Okay, and Cal, you have another question.
Sure. Hi, Dr. Grossman. Why are you recommending wearing a mask after getting the vaccine?
Well, that's what I said. I think, the question is, are we going to be are we going to be able to get infected after the vaccine without getting sick, in which case we could harbor the virus in our upper respiratory area and pass it to other people. So we will be wearing masks again until the majority of people are vaccinated. And that
Okay.
probably we're looking towards the fall of next year.
Yeah. Okay. And our final question tonight, Howard, is we're in transition. Today is the last day of Obamacare, open enrollment. We're now beginning to look at 2021. With what happens next, new president, et cetera, what do you expect will happen for my healthcare access from 2020 to 2021? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, are you on Medicare now?
Ouch.
Oh,
So your
Dr.
healthcare
Grossman.
access will stay the same.
Right. Yeah. Yours will. And
I think once the new administration comes in, we're going to see a real serious look at what the Affordable Care Act looks like, what's being covered, and what the insurance companies are getting away with. And that there are significant problems with high price plans that offer very little coverage, with minimal doctor and hospital coverage. I have patients who enrolled in some of those plans, and it becomes very difficult to find a specialist, and people drop out all the time. I know I've tried to get on certain plans that they say, well, we're just not taking any new people. So even when you volunteer for it. But I do think that the Biden administration is planning to look at that very carefully. The Attorney General of California has been actually in favor of Medicare for all. And I think the idea of people need to understand what a single payer, we're not talking about a single payer system, because we're talking about still having health insurance. And, you cannot get rid of an industry that employs hundreds of thousands of people overnight. But truthfully, as a physician, I would kill for single payer, and the single payer just means that you have one set of rules, one source of where the money comes from. And so I don't have to worry about playing games with insurance companies. I know what the rules are. They don't change all the time.
Yeah.
Much more efficient. So there is no more efficient system than Medicare.
One
And
related
Medicare
question.
is a single payer.
One related question to what our healthcare access is going to be like next year as we transition into 21. What do you think is going to happen in terms of pre-existing conditions? What generally your voice to the LGBTQ community? Are we going to worry about it next year?
Not with this administration. We would have had to worry about it with a Trump administration, but with the Biden administration, I think that's a no-brainer. I think that's going nowhere. I think if anything, they're going to be talking about moving forward with improving healthcare and improving outcomes. Look, I think COVID has exposed all the faults in the system, from people who are uninsured to what happens with people who are undocumented immigrants and can't access health care and can get sick and can spread, disease. What happens with rural hospitals that are overwhelmed, that don't have facilities, that have been going broke over the last, 2 decades, one after another, leaving them incredibly vulnerable and putting incredible pressure on the major cities in these states that are mostly rural. So all of those things have been exposed by this epidemic, much as some of them were exposed by the AIDS epidemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is tonight's Q&A on the LGBTQ health and the pandemic of COVID-19. We are here every Tuesday night, 30 weeks, Howard. You and I have done this dog and pony
I think
show.
we're actually at 32.
Are we at 32? All right. No, we're going to make production.
It's the same way
recount.
you cut your age down.
Yeah. Wait, that's twice tonight. All right. All right, it's Christmas. It's Christmas. All right, we're here every Tuesday with Dr. Howard Grossman to answer your questions. You need medical assistance? We encourage you to contact Midway Specialty Care Center. They have 10 locations here in Florida, and especially contact Dr. Howard Grossman here in Wilton Manors, and he covers all over South Florida. Thank you, Howard, for being with us again tonight. We are going to end tonight's broadcast with what we call the Big Finish. These are today's silly or news that entertains the LGBTQ community. So here we go. The Big Finish. Network television. The Simpsons' iconic 1990s Anti-Homphobia episode was almost banned before it even aired. We've learned, by the way, just this week that this 1990s episode, Fox Television told The Simpsons, no, after they saw it, you can't air it. And the creators at Fox, or the creators at The Simpsons argued and was able to broadcast it. But it almost never aired. And what's interesting in this story is we didn't find this out for 22 years. What do y'all think about this in the Big Finish?
I love this because, again, it's so funny to me how much television especially has had an influence on our politics. And The Simpsons is a great example of that because, I mean, they've done things like talk politics and satire people while also doing things like, hey, here's some of our classic literature in English. Let's do some episodes about that. And it's interesting how it manifests and how other shows like The Simpsons followed in The Simpsons' footsteps.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I think that, you know, for a show that's been on for decades, I don't think there's any subject that they haven't touched yet or pushed the envelope.
Mm-hmm. And interesting to me, I was a big fan of The Simpsons. I became less interested in it really in the last decade, but it's been on forever. Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting. Homer Simpson is the classic dumb white guy. He's the classic dumb white guy. He's the foil in every subject. And the episode, they called it after his name, they called the episode Homerphobia in the 1990s. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Interesting to learn this news. Let's move on. In the Big Finish, Gus Kenworthy is looking to advance his career with thirsty photos.
Ooh.
The Olympic skier, has posted a whole new series of photos just because he can.
Well, he can ski down my hill any day.
Yes, he can.
Really? That's all y'all got?
I mean...
yes, he can. And
I was going to finish it off by saying maybe he'll cover me with some white powdery snow.
No. All right, we quickly move to the next Big Finish. In the Big Finish, this is bizarre. A massive goldfish. Now, you know what goldfish are, right? They're the little orange fish about this big, about 2 inches. A massive goldfish weighing 9 pounds has been found in a South Carolina lake.
He probably had to throw a lot of ping pong balls into that.
To catch that one?
I have some goldfish in my tank. I have a 75-gallon tank at home, and I bought these little 13-cent goldfish 5 years ago, and they're massive now. So I can I mean, they're about 3-4 inches now from like.
We're looking at a 9-pound goldfish, and your 3-inch goldfish are massive.
I mean, size matters, so.
Oh, exactly. All right,
Go back to that last story
joke,
again?
so I'm not going to tell that joke now. We have done multiple stories over the last couple of weeks of people buying pets, and then they get tired of them, and they release them into the wild. Somebody released this pet goldfish into a lake in South Carolina, and this is what you've got. I'm telling you, I know this is true. Godzilla is real. It's real.
Well, that is today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by like and subscribing, ring the bell for updates, share this news. We're the only television live video news that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of anchors Gordon Woodworth III and Cal Kajraj, we are going to see you daily and tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Good night, America.